Before we begin the journey together, I want to ask you for something small but important. I'm asking you, right now, in this quiet moment before Chapter 1, to give this book your honest attention for the next few hours, or days, or however long it takes you to finish it. I'm begging you not to treat this like another self-help listen you half hear, while folding laundry or driving to work. I'm begging you to let it in deeper than that. When fear shows up, and it will, probably before we even reach the end of Chapter 1, don't scroll past it. Don't fast forward. Don't tell yourself, I'll come back to this later. Pause. Feel it. Name it. Let the words land exactly where they're meant to. Because this isn't just information. It's a map. A set of tools. A quiet revolution disguised as chapters. If you do that, if you show up for yourself the way I'm showing up for you right now, something will shift. Not overnight. Not magically. But steadily. Inevitably. The chains are real. But they are not permanent. I'm asking, pleading, really, for you to believe, just enough to try, that you can break them. That's all I need from you. The rest, we'll do together. Chapter 1. The Invisible Prison. Understanding the chains that bind you. Welcome. If you're listening to this, something inside you has already stirred. Maybe it's a quiet unease that follows you through your days, or perhaps it's a louder voice, one that screams stop every time you reach for something bigger. Whatever brought you here, know this, you're not broken. You're not weak. You're simply human. And like every human who's ever walked this earth, you've been handed a set of mental chains you never asked for. This book is presented to you from Voice Books, and over the next chapters, we are going to do something radical together. We are not going to run from fear. We are not going to fight it until we are exhausted. We are going to master it. We are going to break the mental chains that have kept you smaller than you truly are. But before we can break anything, we have to see it clearly. So let's begin at the beginning. Imagine you're 5 years old again. The world is enormous, full of sharp edges and unknown shadows. One day you reach for something hot, a stove, a candle, and pain explodes across your fingers. That burn teaches you in seconds what no lecture ever could. Fire hurts. Stay away. Your brain records the lesson perfectly. Fear arrives like a loyal bodyguard, stepping in to protect you. Don't touch that again, it whispers. And you listen. Good. Fear saved you. Fast forward 20, 30, 40 years. The stove is no longer a threat. But the bodyguard hasn't retired. It's still standing at the door of your mind, scanning for danger. Only now the threats look different. They are not hot surfaces. They are job interviews. Vulnerable conversations. Starting that business you've dreamed about for a decade. Asking someone out. Saying no to people who drain you. Putting your art into the world where strangers can judge it. The bodyguard, fear, still reacts the same way it did when you were 5. Heart racing. Palms sweating. Stomach twisting. Thoughts spiraling. What if I fail? What if they laugh? What if I lose everything? What if I'm not enough? And because the alarm feels identical to the one that saved you from the fire, your mind treats it as truth. Real danger. Imminent threat. So you freeze. You shrink back. You choose the safe, familiar path, even when that path is slowly suffocating your soul. This is the first chain, the illusion of equivalence. Your ancient survival system cannot tell the difference between a hungry predator in the bushes and the discomfort of public speaking. To your nervous system, both register as life or death. That's why the fear feels so convincing. It's not lying to you on purpose. It's just using a million-year-old software update that was never patched for modern life. But here's the truth most people never hear. Most of the fear you feel today is not about survival. It's about identity. Think about it. When was the last time you faced genuine mortal danger? A car accident? A medical emergency? Rare moments. Yet every day, fear shows up for things that won't kill you. Why? Because what scares us most is not death. It's the death of who we think we are. The fear of failure isn't really about losing money or status. It's about the story "I'm a failure" becoming true in your own eyes. The fear of rejection isn't about someone saying no. It's about the whispered lie "I'm unlovable" or "I'm not worthy" getting louder. The fear of visibility isn't about trolls on the internet. It's about exposing the parts of yourself you've hidden even from yourself, and discovering they might not be enough. These are identity fears. And identity fears are the strongest chains because they wrap around the very core of how you see yourself. The second chain is subtler, the comfort of familiarity. Fear keeps you in the known cage because the unknown feels terrifying. Even if the cage is painful, toxic relationships, dead-end jobs, self-sabotage, it's familiar. Your mind knows the shape of the bars. It has mapped every corner. Stepping outside means uncertainty, and uncertainty is the soil where fear grows wild. Have you ever noticed how people stay in situations they hate for years? "I can't leave yet," they say. "I don't have enough saved." Or what if the next place is worse? Those are fear's reasonable-sounding excuses. But underneath is a deeper truth. The devil you know feels safer than the angel you don't. The third chain is the most insidious. Fear disguises itself as wisdom. Listen to the language we use. "I'm just being realistic." "I don't want to get my hopes up." "Better safe than sorry." These aren't caution. They're fear wearing a suit and tie, sitting at the boardroom table of your mind, vetoing every bold move. Realistic caution says, "Let me prepare, mitigate risks, then act." Fear disguised as wisdom says, "Don't act at all, it's too dangerous." One protects your growth. The other protects your smallness. So here we are. 3 invisible chains. The illusion that modern discomfort equals ancient danger. The seductive comfort of the familiar cage. Fear masquerading as prudence. Together, they form the mental prison most people live in their entire lives without ever realizing the door is unlocked. But you're different. You're listening to this book. That means a part of you already suspects the truth. The chains are real, but they are not unbreakable. They are mental constructs, stories you've inherited, habits you've rehearsed, patterns you've never questioned. And stories can be rewritten. Habits can be unlearned. Patterns can be interrupted. In the chapters ahead, we'll dismantle these chains one link at a time. We'll look at the biology of fear so you stop taking it personally. We'll explore the stories fear tells you and learn how to argue back with evidence. We'll build tools, practical, repeatable actions, to move through fear instead of around it. We'll turn fear from a jailer into an ally, a signal that you're standing at the edge of growth rather than the edge of a cliff. But it starts here, in Chapter 1, with radical honesty. So I ask you, right now, as these words enter your ears, what chain feels heaviest today? Is it the fear of not being enough? The terror of being seen and judged? The dread of regret if you never try? Or the quiet despair of staying exactly where you are? Don't rush to answer. Just feel it. Let the weight settle in your chest for a moment. That sensation, that tightness, that churn, is not your enemy. It's information. It's the first clue in a treasure map that leads to freedom. Because the moment you name the chain, you weaken its grip. The moment you see it clearly, you stop believing it's you. This is where mastery begins, not with courage that falls from the sky, but with awareness that rises from within. You've already taken the hardest step, deciding to look. The rest of this journey, we'll walk together. For now, just breathe. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice that you're safe right here, right now. No predators. No fire. Just you, listening, ready. The chains have held you long enough. It's time to break them. Chapter 2. The Biology of Fear. Why your brain lies to you. You've already done the hardest part. You looked straight at the chain in Chapter 1 and refused to pretend it wasn't there. That single act of honesty shifted something inside you. Now, before we hand you the tools to shatter those chains forever, we need to understand the warden who forged them in the first place. It's a tiny almond-shaped cluster of neurons buried deep in your brain, and it is the most overprotective, drama queen security guard you will ever have. It doesn't care about your dreams, your potential, or your happiness. It has one job and one job only: keep you alive. And it is brutally good at it. 10,000 years ago, that was perfect. Mistake a shadow for a tiger? Run. Hesitate? Die. The amygdala hijacks your entire system in less than 1/10 of a second. Heart pounding, blood rushing to your legs, digestion shut down, pupils dilated, adrenaline and cortisol flooding your veins. Fight or flight. Survive now, think later. Here's the problem. Your amygdala never got the memo that we no longer live in caves. It still treats a harsh email from your boss exactly the same as a saber-toothed cat. It still floods your body with stress chemicals when you think about posting that video, launching that product, or ending that relationship. Same alarm. Same chemicals. Same story. Danger. Run. This is why fear feels so real. It's not just in your head. It's in your bloodstream. It's in your racing heart and tight chest. Your body is screaming threat, even when your rational mind knows better. But here's what they don't teach you in school. The fear response is a suggestion, not a command. Your amygdala is like a smoke detector. It's designed to go off at the slightest hint of smoke, even if you're just burning toast. False alarms are built into the system. Better to panic 1,000 times over nothing than miss one real fire. Most of your fear is burnt toast. The moment you understand this, everything changes. You stop treating fear as truth. You start treating it as data. Let me say that again. Fear is not a stop sign. It's a sensor. And sensors can be recalibrated. Let's go deeper into what actually happens when fear hits. Threat detected, real or imagined. Amygdala fires instantly, hypothalamus triggers the sympathetic nervous system, adrenaline and cortisol surge, heart rate spikes. Breathing becomes shallow, muscles tense, prefrontal cortex, the rational, decision-making part of your brain, goes partially offline. You feel overwhelming urgency to escape or attack. This entire sequence happens before you've had a single conscious thought. That's why logic alone rarely works in the grip of fear. Telling yourself it's not a big deal, while your body is in full fight or flight, is like trying to reason with a toddler mid-tantrum. The thinking brain isn't in charge right now. The ancient brain is. But here's the good news. The hijack doesn't last forever. The adrenaline peak lasts 90 seconds to 3 minutes. Cortisol lingers longer, 20 to 40 minutes. But the intense wave passes quickly if you don't feed it with more scary thoughts. This is the first superpower I want you to claim. The 90-second rule. When fear hits, your only job for the first 90 seconds is to do nothing except feel it fully. Don't argue. Don't fix. Don't run. Just let the chemicals burn through your body like a wave crashing on the shore. Breathe slowly through your nose. Place one hand on your chest, one on your belly. Notice the sensations. Label them silently. Tight chest, racing heart, hot face, shaky hands. You're not suppressing the fear. You're allowing it to move through you instead of possessing you. Most people never learn this. They either fight the feeling, I shouldn't be scared, or feed it, this is proof I'll fail. Both keep the cycle spinning. Allowing breaks the cycle. When you stop resisting the physical sensation, something remarkable happens. The amygdala sees there's no real threat and begins to stand down. The prefrontal cortex comes back online. Clarity returns. Choice returns. You go from being a prisoner of fear to a witness of fear. And witnesses are free. There's a second biological truth that will set you free even faster. Your brain cannot tell the difference between excitement and fear in the body. Same racing heart. Same butterflies. Same energy surge. The only difference is the story you tell about it. Skydivers, public speakers, and elite athletes know this. They feel the exact same physiology as someone having a panic attack, but they label it excitement, readiness, or power. And because the brain believes the label, the experience transforms. This is called reappraisal. and it's one of the most powerful tools in neuroscience. The next time fear rises, try this simple sentence out loud or in your mind. This is energy. My body is preparing me to rise to the challenge. Not I'm scared. Not something's wrong. Just, this is energy. Watch what happens. The same chemicals that once paralyzed you become fuel. This is not positive thinking. This is biological hacking. There's one final piece most fear books never mention. Chronic fear rewires your brain, literally. Every time you avoid what scares you, you strengthen the neural pathways of fear and avoidance. Every time you move toward what scares you, you strengthen the pathways of courage and resilience. Your brain is plastic. It changes based on what you repeatedly do. Avoidance feels like relief in the moment, but it's actually programming you to become more fearful tomorrow. Action feels hard in the moment, but it's programming you to become braver tomorrow. This is why small acts of courage compound faster than almost anything else in life. One cold email. One honest conversation. One workout when you don't feel like it. One post when you're terrified of judgment. These aren't just actions, they're brain surgery. You're cutting new pathways through the jungle of fear, one swing of the machete at a time. And the jungle fights back at first. That's normal. That's proof you're doing it right. The old pathway screams because it's dying. Let it scream. By the end of this book, you will have walked through enough fire that fear no longer controls the temperature of your life. You will. But for now, just know this. Your fear is not a flaw. It's an outdated alarm system doing its best with old software. You don't need to fix yourself. You just need to update the code. In the next chapter, we are going to give you the exact tools to do that. Simple, repeatable practices that turn fear from master to messenger. Until then, carry this truth with you. Every time you feel fear and move forward anyway, you are not just changing your life. You are evolving the human operating system. One brave breath at a time. Chapter 3 is already waiting. When you're ready, just say the word. Chapter 3. The stories fear tells. Naming the lies and taking back the pen. By now you know two critical truths. First, fear is ancient biology doing its best to protect a cave dweller in a smartphone world. Second, most of that protection is false alarm, burnt toast, not tigers. Yet even when you understand the smoke detector is overly sensitive, the siren still feels deafening. Why? Because fear doesn't just ring an alarm. It tells you a story. And stories have power far beyond chemicals in your bloodstream. Fear is the greatest storyteller humanity has ever known. It whispers, narrates, scripts entire movies in your head, usually horror genres, before you've even taken the first step. And the cruelest part? You usually believe every word. Today we are going to pull back the curtain on the narrator. We are going to shine a light on the script's fear has been running on autopilot. Once you see the story clearly, you stop being the passive audience. You become the editor. Eventually, the author. Let's start by listening. The next time fear shows up, maybe tonight when you think about sending that email, asking for the raise, posting your work, or having that difficult conversation, pause. Don't fight the feeling yet. Just listen to the voice inside your head. What is it actually saying? Write it down if you can. Or say it out loud in the quiet of your car, your room, your mind. Common fear stories I hear from people, and have told myself, include: if I try and fail, it proves I'm a fraud, incompetent, worthless. If they see the real me, they'll leave, laugh, reject me. I'm not ready, not good enough, not qualified yet. People like me don't succeed at things like this. If I shine too bright, I'll be attacked, envied, brought down. Better to stay small and safe than risk regret and humiliation. I'll never recover from this embarrassment. Notice something? These aren't facts. They're interpretations, predictions, judgments dressed up as truth. Most of them boil down to one core lie: who I am right now is not enough, and if the world finds out, something terrible will happen. That single sentence powers about 90% of the fear that keeps people stuck. Where do these stories come from? Usually a handful of places. Early echoes, a parent, teacher, or caregiver who criticized more than they encouraged. A sibling who got the praise. Being the quiet one, the shy one, the different one. Those early moments taught your young brain. Visibility equals danger, cultural programming. Don't get too big for your boots. Pride comes before a fall. Who do you think you are? Messages that equate ambition with arrogance, success with betrayal of your roots, past pain points, that time you spoke up in class and got laughed at. The relationship that ended with cruel words. The job where your idea was stolen or dismissed. Each wound left a scar, and fear wrote protection stories around everyone. Never again. These aren't random. They're survival adaptations that once made sense. The problem is, they're still running in the background 20 years later, long after the original threat disappeared. The good news: stories are not permanent. They're editable. Here are the first 3 tools to start rewriting them. Use them in sequence whenever fear starts narrating. Tool 1. Name it to tame it. As soon as the story begins, label it out loud or in writing. This is the "I'm not enough" story again. This is the rejection catastrophe script playing. The old better safe than visible narrative. Naming pulls you out of immersion. You stop being the character in the horror movie and become the viewer noticing the cheap special effects. Research shows that simple labeling reduces amygdala activity within seconds. The story loses some of its emotional charge the moment you call it what it is: a story, not reality. Tool 2. Run the evidence. Fear loves to deal in absolutes and worst-case scenarios. Counter it with ruthless curiosity. Ask 3 questions. A. What evidence supports this story? Be brutally honest. List the real examples, not vague feelings. B. What evidence contradicts this story? Every time you succeeded, were liked, were capable, were forgiven, grew from failure, write them down. C. If my best friend told me this same story about themselves, would I agree it's 100% true? What would I tell them instead? Most people discover the for column is short and emotional, while the against column is long and factual. That imbalance weakens the story's credibility. Tool 3. Write the rewrite. Now create an alternative narrative that is equally plausible, but empowering. Old story: if I put this out there and it flops, everyone will see I'm a fraud. Rewrite: if I put this out there and it doesn't land perfectly, I'll learn something valuable, adjust, and keep building. Most people won't even notice, and the ones who matter will respect the courage. Old story: I'm not ready yet. Rewrite: readiness is a myth. Starting messy is how real skill develops. Waiting for perfect conditions means waiting forever. Say the new version out loud. Feel it in your body. It won't feel true at first. That's okay. Repetition rewires belief faster than you think. Do this process even when it feels forced or fake. That resistance? It's just the old story fighting for its life. One final note before we close this chapter. You don't have to destroy the fear story overnight. You just have to stop letting it write the ending unchallenged. Every time you name it, question it, rewrite it, you loosen one link in the chain. Over time, those loosened links add up. You start noticing fear arrive and think, oh, there's that old script again, instead of freezing. You respond instead of react. You choose instead of shrink. That shift, from passenger to driver, is the beginning of real mastery. In the next chapter, we move from understanding and reframing to action. We'll build the exact ladder of small, repeatable exposures that turn "I could never do that" into "I've done it before and I can do it again." For now, try this tonight. Pick one fear story that's been running loud lately. Name it. Run the evidence for and against. Write one sentence rewrite. Then go to sleep knowing you've already begun stealing the pen back from fear. The story isn't over until you say it is. And you're just getting started. Ready for Chapter 4? Let me know the title direction if you have one, or I'll continue the natural progression. Chapter 4. The Ladder of Courage, Building Action Habits that Shatter Fear. You've named the chains. You've understood the biology. You've exposed the stories fear tells. Now comes the part where everything shifts from insight to transformation. Insight alone doesn't break chains. Action does. In this chapter, we are going to build your personal ladder of courage, what therapists call an exposure hierarchy or fear ladder. It's the single most powerful, evidence-based tool for mastering fear. The principle is simple. Face what scares you gradually, repeatedly, and deliberately until the fear loses its power. This isn't about jumping off cliffs. It's about taking tiny, intentional steps up a staircase you design yourself. Each rung weakens avoidance, rebuilds confidence, and rewires your brain to associate the feared thing with safety instead of danger. Why does this work so well? Because avoidance fuels fear. Every time you back away, your brain logs, "Yes, that was dangerous, good job escaping." The neural pathway of fear gets stronger. But every time you approach, even in the smallest way, your brain logs, "Wait, nothing catastrophic happened. Maybe it's not as bad as I thought." Over repetitions, the fear response habituates. It fades. You habituate to courage instead. Let's build your ladder right now. Grab a notebook, your phone notes, or just listen closely and visualize. Step 1. Identify your target fear. Pick one specific fear you want to master first. Not "I'm afraid of everything." Be precise. Common ones people bring to this work. Public speaking, being seen and judged, rejection in relationships, asking someone out, expressing needs, failure, putting work into the world, posting content, launching a project, conflict, saying no or having hard conversations, visibility, sharing opinions, networking, self-promotion. Choose one. Write it down as your top goal. Example: speak confidently in meetings and share my ideas without freezing. Step 2. Brainstorm the rungs. List 8 to 12 situations related to that fear, ordered from easiest, low anxiety, to hardest, high anxiety. Rate each on a subjective units of distress scale. SUDS 0 equals calm as a Zen monk, 100 equals full panic attack. Start small, really small. The bottom rung should feel doable, maybe 10 to 30 on the scale. The top is your goal behavior at full intensity. Here are real-world examples to inspire your own ladder. Example 1. Fear of public speaking, visibility. 20. Record myself giving a 1-minute talk alone in my room. Watch it back. 30. Share that recording with one trusted friend via text. 40. Speak up once in a small team meeting. Ask a question or make a short comment. 50. Prepare and deliver a 2-minute update in a meeting. 60. Volunteer to lead a short discussion or present one slide. 70. Give a 5-minute prepared talk to a small group of colleagues. 80. Speak impromptu for 3 to 5 minutes in a meeting. 90. Present to a larger group or external stakeholders. 100. Deliver a keynote or lead a workshop. Example 2. Fear of rejection, asking for what you want. 15. Make eye contact and smile at a stranger in passing. 25. Say hello and ask a casual question to a barista or cashier. 35. Compliment someone you don't know well. 45. Text a friend to share something vulnerable. I've been feeling down lately. 55. Ask for a small favor, e.g., can you review this email for me? 65. Express a mild disagreement or preference. I'd prefer we do it this way. 75. Ask someone on a casual coffee date. 85. Have a direct conversation about boundaries or needs in a relationship. 95. Propose something bigger, raise, collaboration, commitment. Talk. 100. Walk away from a toxic dynamic if needed. Example 3. Fear of failure, putting creative work out. 10. Write one paragraph of that idea you've been avoiding. 20. Share that paragraph anonymously online, Reddit, forum. 30. Post a short thought on social media with no expectations. 40. Share a draft with one safe person for feedback. 50. Publish a short post article under your name. Point 60. Create and share something weekly for a month. Point 70. Launch a small project, newsletter, video, product beta. Point 80. Promote it publicly and ask for honest feedback. Point 90. Iterate based on criticism and relaunch bigger. Point 100. Go all in on your big vision. Book, course, business. Your ladder will look different. Make it yours. The key rules. Gradual. Each rung should increase anxiety by roughly 10 to 20 points. Specific. Include details. Who, where, how long, what exactly measurable. You'll know when you've completed a rung. Anxiety drops and stays low after repeated practice. Step 3. Climb with structure. Pick your bottom rung. The one that scares you a little but you know you can survive. Do it repeatedly until your suds drops to 20 to 30 or lower and stays there. That might take 3 times, 10 times, a week, a month. No rush. Mastery is patient repetition. Tips for each exposure. Use your biology hacks. Breathe slow, for 7-8 if needed. Reappraise. This is energy preparing me. Use your story tools. Name the script. There's the I'll look stupid story. Run evidence. Rewrite. Stay. Don't escape early. Let the anxiety peak and fall naturally. Remember the 90-second rule plus habituation. Track. After each attempt, note starting suds, peak suds, ending suds. Celebrate drops. Reward. Small wins deserve acknowledgement. A favorite coffee. A walk. Telling yourself I did the brave thing. When a rung feels easy, move up. If it's too hard, add an intermediate rung or repeat more. Step 4. Compound the courage. This isn't one and done. Once you master one ladder, the skills transfer. Your nervous system learns, I can handle discomfort. I've done it before. Small daily courage acts compound. Cold approach 1 conversation a day. Share 1 honest thought daily. Do 1 thing your future self will thank you for. Over weeks and months, the ladder becomes unnecessary because courage is now your default response. A final warning. Your brain will resist. It'll throw excuses. Fatigue. Tomorrow promises. That's fear's last stand. Gently but firmly override it. Action overrides feeling every time. You're not waiting to feel brave. You're acting brave until the feeling catches up. By the end of this ladder, you won't just conquer one fear. You'll have proof in your bones that you are capable of change. That proof becomes the antidote to every future fear story. In the next chapter, we'll talk about what happens when you fall off the ladder, setbacks, self-sabotage, the inner critic, and how to turn those into rocket fuel instead of roadblocks. For now, your homework is sacred. Build your ladder tonight. Pick the bottom rung. Schedule your first climb, tomorrow or this week. Do it imperfectly. Do it scared. But do it. Because the moment you take that first step up, the chains start cracking for real. You're not just listening to a book anymore. You're writing your freedom story, 1 brave rung at a time. Chapter 5 awaits whenever you're ready. Let me know the focus or title vibe. Chapter 5. When the ladder shakes, handling setbacks, self-sabotage, and the inner critic. You've built your ladder. You've taken the first few rungs, maybe even several. The initial rush of I actually did it still echoes in your chest. Then it happens. One day the rung feels heavier than before. Your heart races harder. The old story returns louder. See? You're not cut out for this. You hesitate. You skip. You tell yourself tomorrow, or I'll do it later when I'm in a better headspace. And just like that, the momentum stalls. Welcome to the part almost every fear mastery journey glosses over, the shake. Most people quit here. They interpret the shake as proof they were fooling themselves. I knew I couldn't change. This stuff doesn't work for me. The ladder gets abandoned in the garage of good intentions, and the chains quietly tighten again. But here's the truth that separates those who master fear from those who merely flirt with it. The shake is not failure. It is the curriculum. Every master, every athlete, artist, leader, parent, human who ever grew, has faced the shake and learned to dance with it instead of running from it. In this chapter, we are going to give you the exact moves for when the ladder wobbles, when self-sabotage shows up, when the inner critic turns vicious, and when progress feels like it's evaporating. Because real mastery isn't a straight line upward. It's a spiral. Forward, backward, sideways, pause, surge, dip, forward again. Always circling higher if you keep showing up. Let's break down the most common shakes and how to meet them. 1. The motivation dip. The "why am I even doing this?" wave. After the first wins, dopamine fades. The novelty wears off. What felt exciting now feels like homework. Your brain starts negotiating. You've done enough. Rest. You deserve it. This isn't laziness. It's biology. The reward system that lit up for your early courage acts now wants new stimulation. When the ladder stops delivering instant highs, motivation crashes. Countermove. Reconnect to identity, not feeling. Ask yourself 3 identity-level questions. Write or speak them aloud. Who do I want to become on the other side of this fear? How will that version of me treat the people I love? What will I no longer tolerate in my life once this fear loses its grip? Don't answer with outcomes. I'll have more money. Answer with being. I'll be someone who speaks truth without apology. I'll be a parent who models courage. I'll be free from the constant background hum of not enough. Identity anchors survive motivation waves. Feelings come and go. Who you are choosing to be does not. Micro-commitment ritual. When motivation is 0, shrink the next action to something so small it feels ridiculous to skip. Not prepare the full presentation. Open the slide deck for 60 seconds. Not have the hard talk. Write one honest sentence I want to say. Not post the video. Film 10 seconds of intro with no intention to share. Once the tiny action is done, momentum usually restarts. If not, celebrate the tiny win anyway. Celebration wires the brain to associate effort with reward even when the big payoff is distant. 2. Self-sabotage, the hidden hand pulling you back. You're climbing steadily, then you oversleep the meeting, send a snarky email, binge scroll instead of preparing, drink too much the night before a big exposure, pick a fight with your partner. Why do we do this? Because part of you still believes safety equals smallness. The subconscious mind launches a protection campaign. If I ruin this on purpose, I control the failure. Better self-inflicted pain than unpredictable external rejection. This is not weakness. It's an old survival strategy that's outlived its usefulness. Countermove. Spot it. Name it. Interrupt it with compassion plus redirection. The moment you notice sabotage behavior rising, pause and name. This is self-sabotage trying to protect me from possible disappointment. Thank the protector. Thank you for trying to keep me safe. I appreciate you. I've got this now. Redirect with a pre-decided if-then plan. If I feel the urge to procrastinate, then I do the 2-minute version of the task. After the sabotage attempt, whether you acted on it or not, do a quick repair. One small courageous act immediately afterward to reclaim agency. Over time, the sabotage pattern weakens because it stops working. The protector sees you survive the discomfort anyway, and it begins to stand down. 3. The inner critic on full volume. After a setback, the voice gets vicious. You're pathetic. Everyone else is ahead. You always ruin things. Why bother? You'll never be good enough. This is not your true voice. It's fear wearing the mask of self-criticism. Countermove. Externalize and cross-examine. Write down every cruel thing the critic says, verbatim. Read it as if your worst enemy wrote it about your best friend. Ask, would I ever say these words to someone I love? If not, why do I accept them for myself? Rewrite each attack as neutral or kind fact plus encouragement. Example. Critic. You're a fraud and everyone will see it soon. Rewrite. I feel exposed because I'm stretching into new territory. That vulnerability is part of growth. I've already survived being seen before, and I can again. Speak the rewrite out loud. The critic hates being fact-checked in public. Bonus. Give the critic a silly name or cartoon voice. Here comes Grumpy Gus again with his daily doom forecast. Humor defangs it faster than logic alone. 4. Plateaus and nothing's changing moments. You've done dozens of exposures. Anxiety still spikes. Progress feels invisible. This is habituation's lagging indicator phase. Your nervous system is changing underneath, but the subjective experience hasn't caught up yet. Countermove. Track process metrics, not just feeling. Keep a simple log. Date exposure attempted starting SUDS peak SUDS ending SUDS. What the critic's story said what you did anyway one thing you're proud of. Review weekly. You'll see patterns. Starting SUDS trending down, peak SUDS shorter, ending SUDS lower faster. That's real neurological change, even if the moment still feels scary. Also, celebrate non-feeling-based wins. I showed up even when I wanted to hide. I stayed in the discomfort 30 seconds longer than last time. I didn't let the story stop me completely. These micro-victories compound into unbreakable evidence that you are changing. 5. The big fall. Relapse into old patterns. You avoid for weeks. You shrink back into the familiar cage. The chains feel tighter than ever. This is not the end. It's data. Countermove. Radical ownership without shame. No self-flagellation. Say instead, I got scared. It happens. What scared me specifically? Revisit your ladder from the very bottom rung. Do one tiny exposure today, no matter how small. Shorten the comeback timeline. I will do one courageous act within the next 24 hours. Tell one trusted person, or journal I slipped. I'm getting back on the ladder now. Accountability without judgment accelerates return. Remember, every master has fallen. The difference is they treat the fall as part of the path, not proof they don't belong on it. You now have the full toolkit for when the ladder shakes. Reconnect to identity shrink actions ridiculously small spot. Name, thank, redirect sabotage externalize and rewrite the critic track process over perfection own relapses without shame and restart immediately. Use them in any order, as often as needed. They are not band-aids. They are maintenance for a lifelong practice of courage. As you keep climbing, through dips, shakes, falls, and surges, you'll notice something profound. The ladder stops being about conquering one specific fear. It becomes about who you are becoming, someone who meets discomfort with curiosity instead of collapse, who treats setbacks as teachers instead of verdicts, who knows deep in their bones that they can survive any feeling and keep moving forward. That person doesn't need chains anymore. They've outgrown them. In the next chapter, we'll explore how to turn fear into a lifelong ally, how to listen to it as a signal of growth edges rather than a command to stop, and how to live with a lighter, more integrated relationship to fear. For now, if the ladder is shaking today, hear this. You're right where the real transformation lives. Not in the easier sense. In the shaky parts. In the moments you almost quit and choose not to. Keep choosing. One breath. One tiny step. One rewrite. The chains are cracking louder than ever. You've got this. Let me know when you're ready for Chapter 6, or if you'd like to adjust the direction of the next one. Chapter 6. Fear as an ally. Listening to the signal instead of the siren. You've climbed rungs in the dark. You've stared down the inner critic mid-shake. You've restarted after falls without letting shame chain you again. If you've made it this far, truly made it, not just listened but acted, something subtle has already begun to shift. Fear doesn't disappear. It doesn't vanish like morning fog. But it changes shape. The siren that once screamed stop or die now sounds more like a low, insistent knock. Hey, pay attention. Something important is here. This is the threshold most people never cross. They conquer specific fears, public speaking, rejection, visibility, and then settle back into a quieter version of the same life. They think mastery means the absence of fear. But real mastery means presence with fear. In this chapter, We stop treating fear as the enemy to defeat. We start treating it as a lifelong companion with valuable intelligence. We learn its language. We decode its signals. We turn the alarm into a compass. Because fear isn't random noise. It's directional information. Let's reframe it completely. Fear has only two meaningful messages. You are at the edge of your current identity. Growth lives just beyond this discomfort. There is a real threat here. Protect yourself. The second message is rare in modern life. Actual mortal danger is statistically uncommon for most of us. The vast majority of fear you feel falls into Category 1, growth edge fear. The skill of mastery is learning to distinguish between the two quickly and accurately, and then responding appropriately to each. How to tell the difference in real time. When fear arrives, run this quick 3-question filter. It takes 10 to 30 seconds once practiced. A. Is there imminent physical danger to my body or someone else's? Car swerving toward me. Fire in the building. Violent threat. Yes equals real danger. Act to escape, protect immediately. B. Is this about loss of status, approval, identity, belonging, or comfort, but my physical safety is not at stake? Speaking up, asking for the sale, ending a relationship, publishing work, setting boundaries. Yes equals growth edge fear. Proceed toward it. C. Is the intensity disproportionate to the actual stakes? Butterflies before a casual coffee date feel like a heart attack? Brain predicting social annihilation over a minor conversation? Growth edge fear wearing catastrophe clothing. If it's A, safety protocol, remove yourself or neutralize the threat. If it's B or C, ally protocol, thank it, listen, then move forward anyway. Most of your daily fear is B or C. Once you internalize that, the relationship flips. Fear stops being the warden. It becomes the scout saying, the frontier is this way. Turning the signal into strategy. Here's how elite performers, athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, therapists, anyone who regularly operates at their edge, use fear as data instead of directive. Fear mapping. Keep a simple ongoing list, phone note, journal. Whatever date situation that triggered fear, physical sensation story, fear message, what value or growth edge it pointed toward. Over months you'll see patterns. Fear spikes every time you consider charging more points to self-worth beliefs that need updating. Terror before sharing creative work points to a deep need for authentic expression you've suppressed. Dread before difficult conversations points to boundaries you've let erode. The pattern becomes your personal growth curriculum. Fear is literally telling you where your next level lives. The thank you ritual. When fear arrives and you identify it as growth edge, not real danger, pause and say, out loud or silently, thank you for trying to protect me. I hear you. There's something important here. I'm going to move toward it anyway. This small act does 3 things. It acknowledges the ancient protector so it doesn't have to scream louder. IT shifts you from resistance to alliance. IT reorients your nervous system from threat to curiosity. The energy relabel, advanced, we touched on this in Chapter 2. Now take it deeper. When the physiology hits, heart racing, tight chest, buzzing energy, name it one of these instead of fear, readiness, aliveness, mobilization, energy, anticipation, power, surge. Then add the why. This energy means I'm about to cross into new territory. This buzz is my body preparing me to show up fully. This intensity is proof I care deeply about what I'm doing. Language shapes experience. Relabeling turns dread into fuel faster than any pep talk. Fear as a compass in decisions when choosing between 2 paths. Path A, safe, familiar, low anxiety. Path B, unknown, higher anxiety, higher potential. Ask, which path makes fear louder? The louder path is usually the growth path. Not always the right path, but almost always the path that expands who you are. Over time you train yourself to lean toward the louder fear rather than away. That single habit rewrites your entire trajectory. Living with fear as a permanent resident. Here's the mature relationship most people never reach. You no longer try to eliminate fear. You no longer wait to feel ready. You expect fear to show up whenever you stretch. You greet it like an old friend who always overreacts but means well. You listen for the signal beneath the noise. You act in the direction of the signal, not the volume. This doesn't mean fear never hurts. It still stings. Butterflies still swarm. Doubt still whispers. But the sting no longer paralyzes. The swarm no longer hijacks. The whisper no longer writes the script. You've moved from "I'm scared therefore I can't" to "I'm scared therefore I must be close to something that matters." That sentence is freedom. Daily integration practices. To make this alliance permanent, weave these into your life. Morning check-in. 2 minutes. Where might fear show up today? What growth edge could it point to? Midday pause. 30 seconds. When tension rises, run the 3-question filter. Evening reflection. 3 to 5 minutes. What fear showed up today? What was it trying to tell me? How did I respond? Weekly review. Look at your fear map. Notice emerging themes. Choose one small action that leans into the loudest signal. These aren't chores. They're maintenance for a courageous life. The long view. Years from now, when you look back, you won't remember the days fear was absent. You'll remember the days you felt it fully and moved anyway. You'll remember the first cold email that felt like signing your own death warrant, and the client who said yes. The first honest no that felt like betrayal, and the respect that followed. The first post that made your stomach drop, and the stranger who wrote, "This changed how I see myself." Those moments weren't fear-free. They were fearful, and you showed up anyway. That is mastery. Not the absence of chains. The irrelevance of chains. Because you've learned to walk through fear instead of around it. You've learned to let it point the way instead of block the road. You've learned that the scariest places are usually the ones closest to who you're meant to become. So the next time fear knocks, loud, insistent, familiar, don't slam the door. Open it. Invite it in for tea. Ask, "What are you trying to show me today?" Then thank it. And keep walking. The chains are broken. Not because fear left, but because you stopped believing it owned the house. You do. And the house is bigger than you ever imagined. Chapter 7. Beyond Mastery. Living fearlessly in an uncertain world. You've reached the summit. The chains lie shattered at your feet. You've named fear, understood its biology, rewritten its stories, climbed its ladders, danced through its shakes, and finally welcomed it as an ally. What now? Most books on fear end here, with a tidy bow, a promise of freedom, and the implication that once mastered, fear fades into irrelevance. But life doesn't work that way. Fear doesn't retire. It evolves with you. New edges appear as you grow. Bigger dreams bring bigger shadows. Deeper love invites deeper vulnerability. Greater responsibility carries greater stakes. Mastery isn't a destination where fear vanishes. It's a lifelong practice of walking side by side with it, lighter, wiser, unafraid of its company. This final chapter isn't about conquering fear one last time. It's about integrating everything you've learned into a fearless way of being. A life where fear is no longer the loudest voice in the room, but a quiet, useful consultant. Where uncertainty stops being the enemy and becomes the canvas. Where you live boldly, not because fear is gone, but because you've outgrown the need to wait for its permission. Let's explore what that looks like in practice. The fearless orientation, from avoidance to approach. The core shift of a fearless life is this: you orient toward life instead of away from it. Avoidance was once your default, steering clear of discomfort, conflict, exposure, failure. Now approach becomes your reflex. Not reckless leaping, but deliberate leaning in. When a new opportunity arrives and fear stirs, your first instinct is no longer "how can I minimize risk?" but "what would leaning in look like here?" You ask, what small action moves me closer instead of farther? What would the version of me who's already mastered this do right now? If fear weren't in the driver's seat, where would I go? This orientation compounds. Small approaches become habits. Habits become character. Character becomes destiny. Tony Robbins calls it harnessing the fear response. Navy SEAL Brandon Webb describes fear as a slingshot rather than manacles. Both point to the same truth. Fearless living isn't fearless feeling, it's fearless action despite feeling. Daily rituals for a fearless life. Mastery requires maintenance. Here are the rituals that keep the chains from quietly reassembling. Morning fear forecast. 5 minutes. Sit quietly. Ask, where might fear show up today? Visualize the moments, meetings, conversations, decisions, and see fear arriving. Pre-decide your response. When it comes, I'll thank it, feel it, and move toward the signal. This primes your nervous system to meet fear as expected, not surprising. The evening harvest, 5 to 10 minutes. Reflect, where did fear show up? How did I respond? What did it teach me about my edges? One win, no matter how small. Gratitude closes the loop. Thank fear for the intel. Thank yourself for the courage. Micro-exposure days once a week. Pick a fear flirt. Something mildly uncomfortable you'd normally avoid. Strike up a conversation with a stranger. Share an unpopular opinion online. Ask for something you want without apology. These keep your courage muscle flexed and prevent atrophy. Body check-ins multiple times daily. Pause, scan your body. Tight chest? Racing pulse? Label it. This is growth energy. Breathe into it. Move with it. The body forgets fear faster when you don't resist its signals. Identity anchors keep visible reminders of who you're becoming. A photo of your future self. A one-sentence mantra. I move toward what matters. A list of past proofs. I survived X, Y, Z. When fear whispers you're not enough, these anchors shout louder. Fear in relationships. The ultimate edge. The deepest fears often hide in intimacy. Being truly seen, rejected, abandoned, or engulfed. Fearless love means showing up vulnerable anyway. Say the scary truth instead of swallowing it. Ask for what you need without guarantees. Stay present through conflict instead of withdrawing. Celebrate your partner's growth even when it scares you. When fear arises in relationships, treat it as a compass. This intensity means something real is at stake. Connection, authenticity, growth. Lean in. The reward is deeper bonds than avoidance ever allowed. Fear in purpose. Chasing meaning over comfort. As you expand, fear scales with your vision. Bigger purpose equals bigger fear. Fearless purpose means committing to a direction even when the map is foggy. Iterating through failures without self-attack. Measuring success by alignment, not applause. Accepting that meaningful work will always scare you a little. That's how you know it matters. Remember, the regret most people carry at the end isn't from bold failures. It's from quiet, unlived lives. Fearless living chooses the risk of regret minimization through action. When fear evolves into something new. Advanced mastery includes recognizing fear's disguises as you level up. Existential fear. What if none of this matters? Use it to clarify values. Success fear. What if I can't sustain this? Turn it into sustainable systems. Aging fear. Time is running out. Fuel urgency for legacy. Legacy fear. Will I be forgotten? Focus on impact over immortality. Each new layer is an invitation to deepen your practice, not evidence you've failed. The fearless legacy. Imagine looking back decades from now. You won't recall the days fear was silent. You'll remember the days it roared and you answered anyway. The risks you took that paid off in unexpected ways. The connections forged through vulnerability. The moments you chose growth over comfort. The quiet pride of knowing you lived fully, not safely. That legacy isn't built in fear's absence. It's built in fear's presence, with you as the steady captain. You've broken the mental chains. Now you live unchained. Not because the world became safer. Not because fear departed. But because you learned to walk with it, listen to it, thank it, and keep moving forward regardless. Fear is no longer your jailer. It's your lifelong scout, pointing toward the edges where life gets richest. So step into tomorrow with open eyes. Feel the familiar flutter when it arrives. Smile at it. Say, I see you. Thank you. Now let's go. Then take the next step. The world is waiting for the fearless version of you. Not perfect. Not fearless feeling. Just fearless acting. And that version? It's already here. You've been building it, rung by rung, chapter by chapter, breath by breath. Chapter 8. Your fearless future, sustaining mastery and leaving a legacy of courage. You've walked the full path. From the invisible prison of unnamed chains, through the biology that once hijacked your body, past the stories that scripted your smallness, up the shaky ladder of action, through the storms of sabotage and doubt, into alliance with fear itself, and finally into a life oriented toward bold approach rather than cautious retreat. If you've been applying these chapters, not just listening, but doing, the shift is no longer theoretical. You feel it in your decisions. You see it in your relationships. You carry it in your posture when uncertainty knocks. Now the question becomes, how do you make this permanent? How do you ensure the chains don't quietly reform over years of comfort, stress, or life's inevitable curveballs? How do you turn personal mastery into a legacy, one that ripples outward to your family, your work, your community? This chapter is your blueprint for a fearless future. Not a static endpoint, but an evolving practice that sustains courage across decades and generations. Sustaining the practice, the long game. Mastery isn't a diploma you hang on the wall. It's muscle memory built through consistent representatives. Here's how to keep the muscle strong. Annual fear audit once a year, perhaps on your birthday or New Year's. Sit down for an honest review. What fears have quietly grown louder this year? New ones often emerge with promotions, parenthood, aging parents, health scares. Which old fears have shrunk or vanished? Celebrate these wins explicitly. Where has avoidance crept back in? Be ruthless but kind, no shame, just data. Build or update one new ladder for the coming year. Start small, but commit. This ritual prevents drift. It keeps awareness sharp and momentum alive. Courage community isolation is fear's best friend. Surround yourself with people who normalize bravery. Find or create a small group, friends, colleagues, online circle, where vulnerability and bold action are celebrated, not judged. Share your ladders, your shakes, your wins. Accountability multiplies courage exponentially. Mentor someone earlier on the path. Teaching reinforces your own mastery and passes the torch. Environment design your surroundings either support expansion or contraction. Audit yours media diet. Does it feed fear, endless doom scrolling, or fuel possibility? Stories of resilience, interviews with bold creators, physical space. Keep visible reminders, quotes, photos of past wins. Your fear map people. Distance from chronic complainers or critics. Lean toward those who stretch you. Small environmental tweaks compound into massive behavioral shifts. Passing it on. The legacy layer. True fear mastery transcends self. It becomes a gift you give others. For your children or younger loved ones, model courage openly. Narrate your process. I'm feeling scared about this presentation, but I'm going to do it anyway because it matters. Let them see you climb ladders, shake, recover. Kids learn more from observed bravery than lectures. Create family rituals, weekly brave shares where everyone names one courageous act. Normalize discomfort as part of growth. In your work or community, become the person who speaks up when others freeze. Advocate for psychological safety in teams. Encourage honest feedback. Reward calculated risks. Share tools freely. Teach a colleague the 90-second rule. Walk a friend through their first ladder. Your influence multiplies when you give away what you've earned. The ripple effect: one person living fearlessly inspires dozens. They take bigger risks, speak truths, love deeper. Those dozens touch hundreds. The math is staggering. Your commitment today plants seeds for generations. Handling life's final fears. As years accumulate, new fears arise. Irrelevance, loss, mortality. Mastery equips you here too. Fear of obsolescence. Stay a lifelong learner. Approach aging with curiosity. What new edges does this season offer? Pivot careers, hobbies, contributions. Relevance comes from contribution, not youth. Fear of loss deepen presence. Fear of losing loved ones or health often stems from unlived moments. Pour energy into now, conversations, touch, gratitude. Regret minimization beats loss minimization. Fear of death, the ultimate edge. Many masters report that true acceptance arrives not through denial but through full living. When you've squeezed meaning from days, the end loses terror. It becomes transition, not termination. Practices like daily gratitude, legacy reflection, what do I want remembered, and spiritual exploration soften this fear without erasing it. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine yourself 10 years from now. See the person you've become. Calmer in storms, bolder in silence, kinder to your own edges. See the people around you, lifted by your example, freer because you showed them freedom is possible. See the work you've done, the love you've given, the truths you've spoken, not perfectly, but authentically. That future isn't fantasy. It's the logical outcome of consistent choices you're already making. The chains are broken. The ladder is behind you. Fear is your scout, not your sovereign. Now step forward. Not fearlessly feeling. Fearlessly acting. Carry this book's tools like a quiet compass. Return to them when needed. Share them when called. And remember, every time you choose approach over avoidance, you don't just change your day. You reshape your lineage. You rewrite what's possible for those who come after. Your fearless future isn't waiting. It's unfolding with every breath, every rung, every thank you to fear. Thank you for walking this path with me. Keep walking. The world needs exactly the courageous version of you that's emerging. Go be it.